Oh, hello, and welcome. This is Jolene from Jewel Design, and we are going to get started in back into our altered book again. This collage floral ordeal that I've got going. So many pages already done, so much still to work on, and today we're going to get through many things. We're not going to get through many things. This was an hour video that I shortened down into 30 minutes, so I thought I'd give it a quick little voiceover and sort of go over all the wonderful things that, I wanted to work on. And so not all of my verbiage will match up with my hands. You'll have to forgive me for that. But I couldn't throw the video away, but I couldn't show it the way it was. An hour of me trying to prepare a bunch of pages that we didn't quite get very far on. But there's still progress here. There's still purpose. So as I'm gluing down our bag pages that we worked on, I believe, last time, with the struggle bus there with the pins as usual, I made the mistake of sticking that into the fabric tack and it had a spot on it that made it unusable. We are, putting this together. It's fun when you do a flip through. You always find something that needs a little bit of TLC to it. Uh, but there are plenty of things still to work on and things to do, and I'm just trying to get through the next few sections of this altered book with you guys and give you a feel for what could be done with, book pages. So as you can see, I did start doing, we started putting lace in the edges of pages. This one I didn't quite put out far enough, sort of kicking myself. I think we'll put some lace on a few really interesting spots to make it more fragile, but I definitely like this really delicate lace on this page, and I think when it's sticking out, it's going to be really helpful. And as you can see, I do have some ephemera tucked into our book bag pages, but I'm going to need to make a master board of some sort to help fill in some of these gaps, but I don't have enough scrap paper to do that with, so we'll see how that goes. But I do need to do the final bit of this page. It was the last from last time. Do that corner pocket, angled pocket thing going on, and have a fun day with it. Now I did start prepping pages in the simple sense of counting them out, but I made a mistake of realizing that when you do coffee dyed pages, you need 8 book pages, not 8 pieces of paper. So I realized I'm going to have to get crafty with the middle of my, I don't know, like 8 pages there by accident. I think we're going to end up with 6 coffee dyed, 2 back-to-back sort of decorative, and then 6 more coffee dyed. It is almost the middle of the actual altered book, so it's sort of like a signature in its own right, and I guess I'll justify that the best I can, hoping, because, yeah, you only need like 4 pages in a book to make 8 book side pages. That's plenty for coffee dyed. You don't need much more. Now, I did start going ahead into the next couple of sections and started working on a continuous pocket tuck here, or it's one piece of paper that we slit and layer to where it looks like the page continues on, even though there are tucks. We'll have 2 more big pockets, and then of course maybe just a half page type slit. More coffee dyed, and of course another set of pages that need to come out, but I will not be taking those out anytime soon. Today, though, there is a good 8+ pages, pieces of paper here, I should say. Yeah, it's 16+ book pages. To work on that were seriously inspired by Lorette at Vintage Paper Girl's last video. She did a wonderful file folder flip flop little cute journal project that she started on, and it did inspire me to see if I could get a little bit more crafty, a little bit more creative with our pages here, and not just do a pocket here or a tuck down there or fold it down again. So I'm hoping to get through this. This is what took so much of my time trying to figure out the best way to do this. And there's a lot of hemming and hawing in here. So I want to do some up tucks. I want to do some hidden pages where we slice it, and the page is going to have a tab on it, and we're going to flip it back, and you're going to realize that there's a space underneath tucked under. So yeah, no, I don't want to keep doing standard folds. It's bad enough we're going to have to do them at the end. So you get to watch me go through this process today as I'm trying to decide which way to fold things up, down, backwards. Do I add in book pages? These all have holes in them, so it's a great thing to cover because I was trying to do that all, use that all for one of our major, that little mini vintage thing, and I punched holes into a bunch of book pages. I was like, oh man. So the best thing is I think to do is to tab in some book pages, so that we can make some unusual, flips in and out the best way we can, because you really can't remove the pages. You can't flip in different directions when, everything's glued down in the same spot, right? So we're going to start off with a book page that we're actually going to go sideways with. We're going to tab it in, And we're going to do a little bit of a mini flip, or you can do it both ways, right? You can open up one way, and then you can actually completely open it up the other way. So we are doing a combination of things. One second, ladies and gentlemen. Oh goodness, that's so annoying. Anyway, I had a phone call and it was doctors and I had to answer that. Oh, anyway. So as you can see, I am writing notes throughout this whole thing right on the book page, which is great because we're covering up the book pages, we're inking them, no one's going to see my notes, right? I'm trying to get I'm sort of specking it out and templating out what we want to do, and you use the book pages for that purpose, right? So, um, as I'm pointing out that the bottom isn't perfectly square, that's okay because we can cover it with the book pages. With the scrapbook paper or digital papers that you print out. So nothing is a big deal, and if it's sort of weird, then we just use a piece of, use an eraser and cover it up. So I was just going to tab it in, and then I realized that maybe flipping it over the edge would make more sense and be a little bit more stout. It's still, it's still a little bit of work, when you're folding things in and out too many times, and book pages are only so thick, right? But I think we figured out by the end of at the end there that some washi tape is going to be definitely necessary. Now, this is the first page where we have to keep in mind that when we cut the page, we're not cutting it out, we're just cutting it sort of, down that 2/3. The goal is to make it a tuck on the top that is hidden by the flap of the, page that it's telling a part of. But we're definitely going to have to work our way through this one because we want to put tabs in places. We want so people can, they know that they're in our active. We need to make sure that, I know you see I'm writing notes everywhere. This is a decorative journal page, which means something that's still sort of decorative. It's not just a coffee dyed page, but we can write on the page. Now this one keeping in mind that's gonna be a very decorative page up there. I was wondering if I had too many pages to start putting some coffee dyed pages early, but I already cut the 8 pages in between, so I don't have a lot of room. I sort of need to use up the pages that I have because, one way or another, and hope that we don't do too much because now we've got weird gaps and I don't want too many weird sections that have, cut out pages in between. We're going to do a lot of paper clips today. A lot of paper clips, a lot of whatever. We're going to make this sort of a decorative front cover type feel to the section. We're going to go coffee dye to a really decorative, pretty paper. We're going to go writing. We're going to go split. We're going to have to make sure that as we're working through this, I'm going to have to really think my way through everything because everything has to be glued on in the specific order or sequence so that we don't, screw it up. Now, I decided with this one, we would do a fun long sort of list-like shopping list, favorites list, jotted down space, I don't know, tab in. We would decorate one side and we put coffee dye on the other, and it could be tucked in behind our new decorative flip pull. It's like a flip out, pull out, insert here that we were working on. But to keep it closed, I'm thinking we need to do a decorative paperclip dangle, right? So we have a tab so to open it up and move it around, but I think we need a decorative dangle paperclip thing to keep it in place so that really long writing tab or writing area is not going to like open up and it bent every time we turn around. The weight, of course, of some paper on top of paper is going to definitely help keep this new insert from going anywhere. But we're going to make that decorative, which you could actually see that at the end of the video. Yay, me. Something will go there. And then we'll do a coffee dye piece of paneled paper in there for sure so that we can write on it. Now I'm counting on the pages because I'm like, oh, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? And I definitely, I'm struggling here. Trying to figure out the best way to do this. It's going to make sense. How do we do it? And this is where I probably spent way too much time, and why I sped it up was trying to figure out how to fold it, how to cut it, where to cut it, to do sort of reverse of this. I think it was trying to see if we could do a lower version of it, but I don't remember how I did the first one. I definitely need to get that lace glued down. So I have no clue how I glued that in. I know I used the inside, one continuous piece of paper to glue it all sort of together, and you couldn't tell. But truthfully, guys, I think it's 3 pages that I flapped. I cut the bottom. 1 page I kept and folded up. I mean, I think there's a lot of layers here that I glued together, and I couldn't tell you. Like, I know there's 3, 4, probably 5 pieces of paper right there, which is a really cool thing. But now that I think about it, I probably could remember, I could probably figure out how I did it. But oh my goodness, I was trying to figure this out and make the most of it. So, how many papers can I use up, and what can we do that makes the most sense? So, I figured, well, what the heck, we're just gonna start, well, playing at it, I guess, and start folding it and see what happened. I know we want that bottom, but I just didn't know whether we needed to fold it down to reinforce it. Did we need to glue in a piece of paper? How many times are we going to tuck things up? Ugh, God. Tuck up, tuck down, make pockets, right? And we already had so much going on already on this other side. I'm like, how bulky do I want to make the other side? So, yeah, I'm looking at that section going, how did I do it? How did I do it? How did I do it? And I think I worked sort of backwards, and I'm just now realizing that a little bit as I'm looking at it going, oh, now that I'm not on camera, I maybe can figure out how to do this. So, maybe a quick fold somewhere and I make it another big pocket. That's just the last thing I want to do. But I just figured, well, I couldn't for the life of me figure out what to do first. Do I cut there? Do I cut half? What do I do? Do I fold? I did finally get a visual, effect. Okay, well, let's if we do a reverse of that bunny, right? Instead of having it fold up as a top angle, let's cut partially down in my oh so not straight way, which is fine because I think sometimes like we notice when we use file folders and other things, we need to do things at a slight angle so they're not so bulky. And I was trying to get my figure out here as usual how to get the straightest haha line, which I can't do, and not cut through to the next page. I'm hoping that this whole thing stays together later in life. But I'm definitely getting extremely creative with this altered book compared to I think what most people do. I think it's a lot of just tucks and folds and pocket-like, pages that, nowhere near as crazy as I'm trying to go with this. But I don't do anything halfway. I won't use the whole word there. But, I want it crafty. I want it creative. I want it to be different. And maybe it gives you guys new ideas and inspiration. So I'm struggling a little to get this straightened out. Things don't seem to be perfectly straight, but we are going to get this sort of fine-tuned and try to get, as we're getting farther into the book, things definitely are bulging a little. They're curving around each other, so things aren't straight. And this page feels so loose. It was scary working on it because I was like, is this gonna pull right out? Is this like loose from cutting previously? Like, so scary. But yes, this book gets turned around and I keep going in circles quite a bit with this book because sometimes I just couldn't be. I needed to be working at a different angle, a different direction to make it work. Okay, so we have and so, yes, so I decided that maybe I could put this whole thing up more in the middle so it didn't line up with the other pockets, which means I'm just going to have to really pay attention to where I put my tabs. It means I have to make sure that I get this section done and then I get the back page done. And like I need to definitely work in very careful sections while I work on this so that each piece sort of covers the next and keeps it all blended together and keeps it all glued down. So yeah, that was a lot of fun trying to work through that, and luckily you guys will see that physically in the next video. Okay, so we have a tuck in and we have a tuck down, and I think we're going to do what we did before, and we're going to fold down. See, that one's upside down, which is great, and then this one we always fold down. See, I did it here. I went up instead of down with the thing, and we tucked it in. So I think we're simply going to cut again about a third of the way down, fold it backwards, so it's behind it to make it thicker, and we're going to do two pockets horizontal instead of the vertical tucks we've been doing. We're actually going to get two pockets. And again, I'm upside down because I do cut left-handed when I have a precision cutter. It's like a pen to me. It's no different than a pencil or a pen. So scissors, I need my right hand, right? And maybe that's why I don't cut straight, but that's how I've always cut. It feels weird to have scissors in my left hand. Okay, so we have two pockets with a side tuck, which is great. It's an opposite direction of the usual hemming and hawing that I do. We don't have anything in that direction, so that is sort of nice for once. Okay, so we have that, and I think we're going to then use up one more page. Did I decide to use up one more page? No, that is it. Okay, so I'm trying to decide in the end like how many tucks, how many pages. I have so many things to fill, guys. It's unreal. Now, got to figure out where to put the last piece. And I was trying to see how I wanted to tuck this in, but I sort of wanted to fold something out one more time. So I'm trying to decide like, do I do something in the middle? Now, I don't know if this will even stay glued down, and this was what I was really fussing with, because even though I had a cute idea and all that jazz, in the middle there, something you could open up and write on or decoratively look at and just sort of be in the middle of the page, I was worried whether or not I was going to stay glued down, because there's no way to sew this in. I would probably kill myself trying to sew it into the already heavily glued binding of this book. Um, I'm giving everything a nice, less than a quarter inch, 1/8 of an inch fold in to where it doesn't all the way into the middle, because I want to be able to fold it in and out easily. So we've got some, consecutive decorating, yeah, continuous decorative pages on the outside. So when you opened it up, like, we could decorate all the way across so that they see, they get to see a page that you just keep flipping it out, and the book page, the decorative page just keeps going. And coffee on the inside, so it's another writing space. Now, this is where I was like, oh, maybe we need to do, I'm almost there, so maybe we need to do something else. So I'll keep going with our large page pocket. But then I was like, wait a minute, I gotta, making a big old page pocket like I've been doing, decorative, writing sort of decorative page, very much like these guys. But maybe we do some floating clear pockets. I know I want to put floating clear pockets on these pages, but whether we do some more over here is sort of what I was debating on. And so I'm like, well, what do we do? I mean, I have every so often quite a bit. We have our large pockets, and I thought, well, what if we did it here, but then it made the page sort of hard to. This page is a coffee dye. It'll be off the edge somewhere. So then I finally had the brainstorm idea. Duh. Let's go vertical with this sucker. Let's turn it around. We're going to glue down one panel. So it pops open one way, pops down the other, and it's full coffee dyed underneath. So a little bit of decorative, continuous decorative papers so that this flap and that flap sort of go in. But we're going to glue down one of these three sections so it doesn't leave the page. Right? We'll do it, it's upright this way, so that will be continuous, really decorative page again. So the first page and last page of this section will definitely be, hopefully, a really pretty decorative paper. We'll have that continuous. This will be a new flap of decor, because it's going to just sort of open up on its own. Maybe we'll cut them as like tabs there. We can do rounded corners up here. And then it'll be one continuous coffee dyed page, I believe, inside. Instead of having a continuous, paper everywhere, we're gonna do this. Now, it would be great if I could float that just right inside of the decorative page, but I have to reprint that paper and try to line it up, and let's not try to do that. That is definitely not worth its time. But something that'll be comparable, something that looks nice together. Maybe there's some contrast where we've got a really dark decorative page, and then we have maybe lighter and creamier, on this one, so that when you see that belly band looking thing, and you open it, continues on, coffee dyed underneath, separate decor. Sort of like an envelope, right? And we'll put maybe we'll glue down a little bit of string so it's tied down. And I don't know if I want to, take these two pages then, and do I decide to, I don't remember if I decided to make another large pocket or did I do something else with it. I'm debating on everything. Of course, all my little edges here. I love that this tab is so unusual. This belly band tuck is, have these great pieces that stick out, but they are fragile at times. Okay, so I'm going through, and we're going to cut that. I got to figure out how to work that. Maybe we'll, start working on this. We have all these pockets that tuck down, one tuck in. Oh yeah, so I did use 3 pieces of paper right there, which was huge. That made a difference. You have to glue one to the other to make the pockets, of course, and it just makes that whole section way more sturdy. So then I was deciding that maybe we combine these two to make one large pocket. Yeah, so we decided I put my little large 2-inch circle thumb notch up on the top, so that I know that they're going to make one large pocket. So 3 there, 1 tuck, or big one, and then decorative page that this flips open you can write on, and that would end our section. So we sort of have 2 main sections in here. You've got the pockets, and then you've got this decorative with this cool flip-flop hidden thing, flip out, a long to-do list tab in. There's a lot here, but it is, a good deal. And then we have something a little lighter and airier, and then back to copy dyed pages again. So not as, we get something really busy and then we try to go a little simpler. We go a little busier and we try to get a little simpler. Ugh. So in the next 10 minutes, good Lord help us, we're going to try to see if we can get any farther. Now, I thought I was going to work on this flip-flop thing. I don't call it flip-flop because it is just, it's like we pull it, we open it, and then we pull it out, right? So that you can see everything with it. And I thought we would work on that first. But then I started worrying about like what I was doing, and I was showing you, I was trying to make it feel like crown molding on that poor page, more than anything. Definitely need to finish that page and so many other coffee dye pages. There's so much to do. Got to put lace on that page. There's a lot still to do. We are sort of in the middle of the book, though. If you look at the pages in general and you sort of look at the placement and the binding, we are sort of middle of the book when we put our, 6 coffee pages and then go into the next major decorative piece section. And I thought, we would start working on something, and I saw this piece of paper when I went to go start looking at pages, and I went, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for this little tabbed in doohickey. And it's something that's part of the, last section before between on the other side of the coffee dyed. So I thought, well, all right, this is easy, right? We're going to glue this down and we're going to flip it in. Why not, right? Make this stout, make it all sturdy so that we can glue stuff onto it. So I'll put a coffee dyed page, ripped paper here that will allow us a writing space. It could be a shopping list, it could be not a shopping list, not a journal, but like a favorites list or a to-do list or a gratitude list or something to do. So speaking of gratitudes, I did finish my purple journal, or not finish it, but I did finish the basics of it. So here's the cover. All the pages are in there. I started writing in it and putting the little numbers in it. So when it's all done, I'll do a quick flip through. But I am stoked that I'm only a day or two behind writing on that one. So hey, I got caught up, so I'm stoked. Oh, let's see if we can go straight with this. Ha ha. I thought I could rip it, which luckily I didn't tear it or do any damage, but I realized I didn't need to go very far because we're only going to go above the first sort of set of arches, or at the top of the arch. So I just ripped up where I needed to go and figured that would do the job. Sad part is that I did realize that after we worked on all this, everything has to be inked, and so every page is inked. I did a base job of inking the pages, but they're still pretty light, and so to get that antique-y, used, worn-in feel, every page has to be inked, or at least every section of pages, so that where the paper doesn't cover, there's ink. And I've got to find the right brush. I was going to use one, and then realized, but that's what I've been using in our summer one. For all the back sides of our ephemera have not been covered, so I've been stenciling a lot of stuff. So I have to find my smaller. They're makeup brushes, I believe. They're not really art brushes per se. They're makeup brushes, and they work really well because they're really soft brushes. So you can go really heavy or really light. They are good for stenciling and stuff. When you're using the inks, they work really well to fill in those gaps without ruining the stencils, especially if they're sort of a thin plastic. But yes, this all has to be seriously inked because as we found out and as we're getting farther into the book, it is hard to get a square cut. Even if I use the deco cutter and all that, the book pages don't seem square, the folding isn't squared, you're folding within the fibers of the papers, and sometimes that's not a perfect fold. So I go to town on the inking here, guys, especially up in the spine area because we can't get the paper down there. So I don't want to see white. I don't really want to see the cream pages. They're a brand new book. It is nothing exciting. And of course, my paper clips are all in the way. How rude. But what are you going to do? I realize we need to work on this. I could probably speed this up a little bit more, but I don't want to mess with the editing any more than I have to. I try not to do this too often. I took the video and shortened it and then turned around and re-imported it so I could talk over it with a smoother fix, because when I was first looking at it, it was really glitchy, and I went, oh, that's going to be a problem. So luckily, this has worked really well once I reprocessed it, but I won't ink all the pages, just a few that are nearby, so if I get ahead of myself, I'm not kicking myself. So you get to watch me actually try to cover something, panel something. Not exactly what we were hoping for, but I promise in part 2, if you come back, for the 45 minutes to 1 hour, I will have things ready to go. The moment I finished this video, I started prepping stuff. But we're going to cut the bottom and the top, and then probably right along the white line, we're going to go to a nice and cut straight to line up with the page that I folded, leaving a little deckled on the inside so that it's not such a harsh edge to, you know, blend it in. It's hard to decide whether or not to have your pages that you cover, papers that you use to cover, go into the creases of the page, or do we come up short? Because if we come up short, I feel sometimes it's really hard. Ugh, I'm running out of space as usual. Okay, let's see. And we're getting to the nitty gritty, and it's like I didn't feel like rushing through all of this too, but you have to do what you have to do. Ugh. See, I think that's half my problem is that the decal cutter itself moves the paper when it cuts. So if I don't hold on tight enough, yeah, it moves it down a little bit. I think that's how I get uneven pages, uneven cuts, and I'm just realizing that. I think I realized it a project or two back. I finally caught that, but you know, I forget and I don't use it, and then I have to remember all over again. So some simple inking and, you know, moving our way through all of this. We'll get this panel, of course, you know, glued it together, and might be the end of it. I don't know. Ugh. I did realize I probably should do a little end piece of something else here, but okay. So let's see. It might be a little. So I made pauses and stop talking, and I'll zoom through real quick so you can see it all glued down. But probably I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to cut this short because I really don't get too much farther with this. I just get this glued down so we know what's up and things. And so I really appreciate you guys watching today and my very much processed video of figuring out how to fold the pages and make the most of them. Because it's really what we need to do today for these, you know, next section is how interactive did we want to go and how many folds and how many more pockets. And I have a severe amount of, what's the word, ephemera to make for this journal. Oh my gosh, all the pockets alone are full and definitely, you know, enlarge this poor journal. But now we've got to make all the pretties that we can put inside it. So alright, so I'm just trimming that off to make it easier like we do with any other fold of thick paper. You sort of cut it at an angle and it takes out some of that weight and makes it a lot easier to fold and glue and work with. So, but we'll use the paper to thin it out and make it pretty so you can't tell that there's anything out of the way. We'll do a little gluing up here. Ta-da! So thank you for liking, loving, commenting, subscribing, hitting the notification buttons, the bells, all of that jazz so you know when I come up, since I'm only 2 or 3 times a week on a good week, and you never know what I'm working on next, so this way you can see the previews and the tabs and all that jazz and know what I'm working on, and hopefully you'll sit a spell and join along with me. So I love you all very, very much, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you later this week, and we'll get some serious decorating done. Thank you all for joining me. Love you all. Bye-bye.